Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'll be reviewing Run Rabbit Run, now streaming on Netflix. So Run Rabbit Run is a new horror thriller, and it tells the story of a mother who is dealing with the grief of losing her father, and her daughter is slowly starting to act more and more strange. It's starting to link into some ghosts of her past, and really making things start to unravel by the end of the film. And while I have to say there are a lot of things that I don't particularly love about this movie, the performances were phenomenal from both our lead actresses. Sarah Snook, who's mostly known for Secession, does a really great job of playing someone who is struggling with grief in their life, struggling with the guilt of their past, and also trying to understand what's going on with her daughter. In these movies, have it be, Babadook or The Omen, it's always interesting to see how they play a parent who doesn't know how to handle what's happening with their child. And I think she plays a very convincing parent in this film. Someone who's really struggling with the things that are happening in their life. And as the movie gets stranger and things start to unravel, I think that she really commits to the role, and it makes it worth watching just for her performance alone. Lily Latour, who plays the daughter Mia in this film, also does a very solid job. Usually when you see child actors in horror movies, they tend to overact a little bit. They tend to be a little ridiculous. There's obviously some exceptions to this rule, and I think she's one of those. She plays a very believable character, and as things start to get stranger, she's playing almost kind of different roles in the film, and I enjoyed that she's able to pull that off without it feeling, cheesy or overdone. Now, where the film really starts to kind of fall apart for me is the overall pacing. So I love a good slow burn horror film. Some of my favorite movies of all time are slow burn horrors, but this one really doesn't feel like it's worth the payoff at the end. When you get towards the end and there's a very ambiguous ending, which I personally kind of enjoy, it never feels like all the things that happen in the film are kind of worth where we progress. I will go into a little bit of spoilers in this review. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers about this movie, I would click off now and check back later after you've seen it. So in this movie, like I said, we are watching a mother deal with her daughter acting stranger and stranger, and she's dealing with kind of the grief of her past. And her daughter keeps referring to herself as Alice, as this almost unknown character in the beginning of the film. And as we know, as it moves along, that Alice is the long lost missing sister of our main character, of the mother. And we realize that, there must be some weird link to this. There must be something going on behind the scenes, why she understands who this person is, what's going on behind the scenes. And by the end of the film, I feel like there's a couple ways you could take this movie. There's kind of an ambiguous ending involving the appearance of this missing character. And we're either led to believe that there is maybe a ghost, whether there's some paranormal element to this movie by the end, or we're led to believe maybe that our main character is an unreliable narrator, and pretty much everything we've seen since probably the beginning of the film is kind of in her head, and she's just dealing with that internal grief, and it's kind of bleeding into her reality. I like to believe that part more. I think the ghost theory is, it's kind of lame in my opinion. I like the idea of our character really struggling, and you also see maybe the idea that she's suffering from some kind of medical condition. There's multiple points in the movie where we see her hand is having some kind of infection, so maybe that has something to do with it. It's not really explained to you, and I like the idea that the plot is kind of drip fed to you and you're not just spoon fed the answers, and I like that in movies, but I think for a lot of general audiences, particularly with this being on Netflix, that might be incredibly frustrating to have a movie where you get to the end and there's really no explanation of what happened or how it happened. Cinematography of the movie itself, I think, really works. It was filmed on location in Australia, and you get some really isolating and eerie landscapes. In particular, there's scenes where she's at her childhood home that feel very isolating. You feel like you're trapped there with her, and she's struggling with being trapped alone in this kind of memory box that she's in. So I think it works well for those elements. I also think the score of it's actually pretty good. It combines kind of creepy nature sounds with kind of the ominous typical horror movie soundtracks of kind of modern slow burn horror films. So I think both of those elements work to kind of drive forward the eerie atmosphere of the movie. With that being said, I did mention that it is a slow burn film, and for a lot of the movie there's not really a lot happening. I think, like I said, general audiences might get bored with this one in the first 30-40 minutes. I myself stuck with it, and I'm glad I did, but I could definitely understand how some people might give up on this one. And while this movie definitely takes inspirations from films like The Omen or The Babadook, it doesn't really do anything to set itself aside from those films, from those classic horror tropes of creepy child acts creepy. So I feel like the movie definitely could have done more to kind of set itself apart and be a little more original. That's not being said that I didn't enjoy it for what it was, but it definitely does feel a little played out to someone who's seen a lot of these movies with similar plot points and similar kind of character designs. So overall, if I were to rate Run Rabbit Run, I would give it a 5 out of 10. I think the performances really help to elevate it, and there are elements in it that make it interesting and make it kind of a compelling thriller, but I don't think it's a particularly scary film. I don't think it's particularly original. It's definitely competently made and competently acted, which helps raise it up to that kind of mid-level point. I think if we would have had worse performances or worse people at the helm when it comes to the filmmaking aspects, this movie could have easily been, a 2 or a 3, a completely throwaway Netflix horror movie. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth checking out, at least just for the performances. So if you end up checking out Run Rabbit Run, let me know what you thought about in the comments below. Let me know if you liked it more than me. Did you like it less? And I would love to hear your theories on the ending. What do you think is happening throughout the film? Do you think it is a ghost? Do you think it is one of those situations where this is completely made up and we have kind of a unreliable narrator and most of the movie is kind of just a fictionalization of what's happening in her mind? I'd really love to see what you think, and I'm actually interested to see if I were to go back and rewatch it, if there's more clues there to give into like what is actually happening. Because there's some weird scenes, particularly one involving a monument to like her missing sister, where you see like something and there's something in the darkness. It's like, is that a thing? Is that something that's in her head? Is that in our head because she's not telling us that? I mean, I feel like there's a lot there. It's really left open for interpretation. And I'd like to think that, the creator of the film has a meaning behind this and it isn't kind of just an open-ended story. So let me know what you thought about that in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.